Hello everybody, welcome back to Code Vipassana. You've made it to season 10, session 5, and today we're building a travel agent using the MCP Toolbox for databases, and we will use the agent development kit. Well, what will you learn in today's code lab? You'll learn how to provision and populate a Cloud SQL for PostgreSQL database with some sample data. You learn how to set up the MCP toolbox for databases for the Cloud Run and the Postgre database instance that you just created. You'll design and develop an agent using the agent development kit, and you'll test out the agent locally using all the tools that you've built. Optionally, we will also show you the steps on how to deploy it on Google Cloud Run, but you can do that at your own instance. So let's proceed. Like always, we have a list of prerequisites that we need to ensure are done before we get started with the actual lab. So firstly, we need to be ensuring that we are inside a Google Cloud project. We have a project and we have billing enabled. How do you do this? Well, go to console.cloud.google.com. Click here on Open Project Picker. If you already have any project that you want to use, select that project, or you can click on New Project and create any new project. I'll just select this project since I already have a lot of projects, so I'll just select that project. My project ID is S10-L4. Just ensure you know your project ID, and it might not be as same as your project name, but just make sure you know your project ID. Okay, so we have a project selected. What next? We need to ensure that we have billing enabled. How do we ensure that we have billing enabled? Let's go to billing. This project has no billing account, so we link a billing account to it. Let's go to link a billing account. I have no active billing account right now, so let's go and redeem some credits. In a Code Vipassana email, you would have received a credit link where you could have redeemed credits. I'll just show you how that's done. So if you open any one of the credit links that you have received in the email, you will be led to a page like this. Just sign in with your personal Google account and not your college account or your work account. Once you sign in, it will tell you this is Code Vipassana Season 10. Click here to access your credits, accept and continue. And you will see the credits are successfully applied. You can see now when I come back to the page that says the project has no billing account, I can click on link a billing account, select the trial credit account that we have, click on set account, and I will be able to use the project. The $0 that is showed here is just the usage that you have. So this is $0 use. Just go to credits and you should see your $5 right there. So we have a project, we have billing enabled. The next thing that we need to do is we need to ensure that we open a Cloud Shell terminal, our account is set, our project is set, and we have the necessary APIs enabled. How do we do this? Well, we go back to console.cloud.google.com, click on this icon that says Activate Cloud Shell, open it in a new tab using this button, authorize it, then open it in a new tab. You can leave the previous site, authorize, and you can see that we have a Cloud Shell terminal open. Now what you can do is first you can configure your project here. So this is the command that we use to configure a project. So gcloud config set project and enter your project ID. For me, my project ID is S10-L4. So I will just enter that and I will press enter. Once I press enter, you can see the project ID set here in yellow and we're good to proceed. The next step that we need to do is we need to enable the required APIs. So we will copy this command, paste it inside our terminal and press enter. What this will do is this will go inside our Google Cloud project and enable all the APIs that are required to be enabled. Once it is successful, you will see an operation completed successfully message. You can see once the APIs were successfully enabled without any error messages, I can see operation finished successfully. So I can move on to the next part of the code lab. Next, what we'll do is we'll create a Cloud SQL instance inside our Google Cloud project where we'll use Postgres 15 with 2 CPUs, 8 GB of RAM in the region US Central 1, and the root password that we'll use is Postgres. This command will take about 3 to 5 minutes to execute, so just wait for it a little bit. All you need to do is copy this code, paste it inside your codelab, and press enter. It should start creating the instance instantly. Once the database instance is created, it will show you the name of the instance, the database version, the location of the database, the tier, and the primary address of the database. The root password that we'd set was Postgres, but when you're executing this in a production environment or a more secure environment, make sure this is a very secure password. We are done with step 3. Let's move ahead. Now we need to prepare the hotels database. So for this, what we can do is we can visit the Cloud SQL page in the Cloud Console and we will see our HotelDB instance. Once we do see it, what we'll do is we'll go ahead, use some DDL, DML, SQL to actually go ahead and create the table and insert some records into it. So let's go the Cloud SQL page. We see our hotel-instance here. Let's go ahead inside of that instance. Then go ahead inside the Cloud SQL Studio, select the database Postgres, user Postgres, and the password that we set was Postgres. Authenticate, and we're inside. So now we have our database ready and we can go ahead and create a table inside of it. So let's copy this command, go inside the editor, paste it. What this will do is you can see right now the tables that we have is 0. Create table hotels, it will create a table with the name hotels and it will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns inside of it. Once I run this statement executed successfully, one table with the name hotels with 7 columns inside of it. The next thing that we need to do is populate it with some sample data. So let's copy this. You can replace this command itself, which is putting some sample data into the database, into the table, and you can see our 7 columns have data right now. So that's great. Now let's just make sure that all the data has been successfully entered. So this query is used to retrieve data, all the data from the hotels table. So let's run this and you can see we have all the 10 records present here. Great. The next thing that we'll do is we'll set up MCP Toolbox, the most exciting part of this code lab for this database. What is MCP Toolbox, by the way? Well, MCP Toolbox is an open source MCP server for databases, and it was designed with thinking about production quality and making sure that it is ready for any kind of application, whether it is MySQL, Postgres, AlloyDB, BigQuery, Airtable, you name it, and it's there. So let's go ahead and build for it right now. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to create a new directory called MCP-Toolbox. Let's go back to our Cloud Shell where we created the instance of the database, create a new directory. I already have that directory. So let's just make it 2 and I'll make this as Toolbox 2 while you can stick to the first one. If you also need to create a new one, just go ahead and create it. The next thing that we'll do is we'll go inside this directory. So for me, again, it's 2 and you can see that I'm inside the directory. Next, we need to export the latest version of the MCP Toolbox and download it inside this directory. So we export the version to be 0.6.0. We use the curl command to download it inside. Because we are using a Google Cloud Shell terminal, we're using the Linux version, but you can configure this according to your operating system. And we give it execute permissions. Great. Now what we need to do is we need to configure a tools.yaml file. If you'd seen the last lab, we'd configured the tools.yaml file from inside the CLI itself. This time, let's go ahead to the GUI. So I will click on Open Editor from here, close this terminal, and open the folder that we just created, which is MCP Toolbox 2. Let's click on OK. And you can see the toolbox that we just downloaded is present here. And we can also open a terminal here that will help us do exactly what the old terminal was helping us. All we need to do is just ensure we set up our Google Cloud project again. So gcloud config set project. For me, it's s10-l4. For you, it will be your own project ID. Let's go ahead and make a tools.yaml file. So let's make a new file called tools.yaml inside this folder and copy paste this content. We need to replace your project ID with our project ID. So for me, it's s10-l4. Go across the entire file, understand what it means. We've done this in the past session. Basically, what it's doing is it's defining the source, which is the Cloud SQL Postgres we just made with the instance that we have, and it is defining all the kind of queries that it can run, all the tools it has. It can search a hotel by name, search a hotel by location, etc. That's all that it's doing. You can read this brief to understand more about it. For now, let's try running this file. Let's copy this command, paste it inside our terminal, and press enter. You can see servers ready to serve. By default, the toolbox serves on port 5000. So let's change the port to 5000 and click on change and preview. If everything's all in well, it will show you hello world, and that means that you have successfully been able to execute your MCP toolbox, and you can see a successful query response here. So we're good to go. You can see if your query was successful, you will be able to see hello world. What you can also test is, let's say if I go back again to the web preview on port 5000, you can see that if I add this to the end of the URL, make sure if you see something like auth user equals 0, you remove that, /API toolset, press enter. You will see that it gives you an example query that it expects. So that's the kind of sample output and query that is currently configured for our MCP toolkit, and you can always check it out using this method. Let's proceed. So the next thing that we need to do is we need to write our agent with the agent development kit. For this, we've been following a good syntax of creating all our agents inside the my-agents directory. So if you follow this syntax with us, that's great. Otherwise, you can create this directory right now. What I'll do is I'll just leave the toolbox here open because we'll need it later. I'll go to another console.cloud.google.com page. I'll open another editor here. So what I can do is click on open editor and open in a new window. Close this tab, leave the site. And you can see that the editor is now open and it has the my agents loaded inside of it. What I can do is if you don't see it this way, you can click on open folder. You can go ahead and click on my agents, and if you don't have it created, you can always create it using mkdir my-agents. Alright, so my agents directory for me is already open. So what we can do is we can initialize a virtual environment inside this directory. So let's go ahead and do that. I already have a virtual environment installed and I already have it activated, but how you will normally activate it is you will use the command source.when, which is the name of your virtual environment, then activate, which will help you activate your virtual environment. After this, you can install the necessary dependencies and create your agent. For us, the dependencies that we have is Google-ADK and Toolbox-core. Let's go ahead and install these dependencies. Great, our dependencies have been installed and we can proceed. If you've not, before you go ahead, make sure that your project ID is set inside every terminal that you work in. So gcloud config set project, and my project ID is s10-l4. For you, it will be your unique project ID. The next thing that you can do is you can just check out the ADK utility package. So because we have ADK utility installed, if we just type ADK and press enter, you will see all the different types of commands that you can run with ADK. So commands like API server, create, deploy, eval, run, web, etc. etc. So The command that we're going to use right now is ADK create hotel-agent-app. What this will do is it will use a very simple predefined template to create a new ADK application with the name hotel-agent-app. If you press enter, the terminal will ask you some questions. Let's go ahead and answer them. Choose a model for the root agent. For the use case that we're looking at right now, we can choose Gemini 2.0 Flash, or we can fill it later. For now, I'm just using Gemini Flash. You can choose it later if you want to use a different model. What is the difference between Google AI and Vertex AI? Well, for Google AI, you can go to the Google AI Studio and grab an API key, which is what we've showed you. You can also use Vertex AI, for which you need the Vertex AI API to be enabled in your project. So let's go ahead and choose Vertex AI. The cloud project ID is S10-L4 by default, so I'll just press enter, leave it blank. The region is also US Central 1, and you can see instantly it has created a new directory called hotel-agent-app with the required files for an agent inside of it. Pretty cool. So we are done with this part. We have the env file created. If we go inside the agent.py file, it is a very simple architecture. All it says is the instruction to the LLM is answer the user's questions to the best of its knowledge. But let's change this up a bit and try running the agent. So let's copy these contents, paste them here, and what we're telling the assistant to do now is just answer questions about a specific city and nothing outside of it. Let's go ahead and test this out. To run any agent inside the ADK utility, what you need to do is, if you're running ADK run, you can be inside the directory of the agent, but let me show you the web UI that we can run agents with. For that, you need to be one directory outside of the agent files that you have. So the directory we have our agent in is hotel-agent-app. So one directory outside, which is my-agents. So we are currently in the right directory. So what I can do is I can just run ADK web and press enter. What this will do is it will start the ADK server on localhost 8000. I can visit this server and run the app, and let's do that now. So let's open this URL, localhost 8000. You can select an agent, hotel-agent-app, and you can see if I type any query with the agent, let's say hello, the agent will say what specific information about city. Let's say tell me something about New York. It will only respond with information about the city. If I ask it something else, let's say how to make pancakes, it will not answer that. So our agent works. We can go ahead and develop it according to our use case. So now what we need to do is we need to connect our agent to our tools. So what we'll do is we'll modify the agent.py to connect to the toolbox client and give the agent access to this tool. So we'll copy this code and I'll explain you what the code does. So if it's already running for you, the agent, you can press Ctrl+C on your keyboard and it will abort the run, and you can change the code. So now what we're doing in the code is we're importing the library toolbox core and importing the client toolbox. As we saw previously, by default the toolbox runs on port 5000, so we are doing that. After that, we load all the tools inside the toolbox and we give access to those tools to the agent. And we have changed the prompt for the agent that it can answer any specific questions about the hotels or use the tools to answer that question. That's great. What do we need to do next? We can test our agent and see if it will fetch our data from the Postgres SQL. Let's go ahead and do it. For this, let's firstly run the toolbox. So let's go inside our toolbox directory and run the toolbox. I'm inside the My Agents directory right now. So I will come out of it. I'm in my root directory right now. So I will go inside my MCP Toolbox directory and I will run the toolbox. You can see servers ready to serve and it's serving at port 5000. Now I can run the agent. Since the port 5000 is now active, we can run the agent and start having a conversation with it. So let's try this out. Let's try this out in the command line right now. Let's expand the terminal, ADK run and the name of the directory. Press enter. And you can see the agent is ready to receive some questions. Let's go back to our database and see the kind of locations that we had put in. We have locations Zurich, Basel, Bern, a lot of things, right? So we have an example interaction here in the codelab. So if we ask it, what can you do for me? It will give us a description, and let's go ahead and just have a conversation with it. So let's ask it, hey, who are you and what are your capabilities? The agent says, I'm a hotel agent and I can answer questions about hotels in a city or hotel by names. Okay, let's ask it, which cities do you know about? It says that it has a tool called Search Hotels by Location and it can call that tool. Pretty cool, right? Using this, you can query it to use any of the tools and execute them inside an agentic application. So the LLM decides when to call the tool, when to give access to the tool, the parameters to call it, everything. So we have completed the most exciting part of this code lab, which is the live demo and seeing if our agent can access the tools. The next thing that we can do is obviously deploy this. You can connect this agent and the database to multiple data sources. The possibilities are endless. The optional next step is that you can deploy your MCP Toolbox for database and your agent to Cloud Run. It's a very simple step. You need to enable some APIs, give some permissions, add some secrets. After that, run the command gcloud run deploy toolbox. It will deploy your toolbox, and then after that you can deploy the hotel app also. Once you're done with this, you will be able to access this exact interface but on a public URL. So after that, what you need to do is you need to do the cleanup. You need to do the cleanup because the instances that we're using right now, the Cloud SQL instance, is charged by the hour. So your credits will get finished. Don't worry, for the next lab you will get new credits. This is just a precaution that we like to follow. So if you do want to clean up, just export your project ID inside the terminal, export your region. So go to any terminal inside your root directory, go to the Cloud Shell terminal that we previously opened and run these two commands. Run the toolbox, run the hotels-services and run the SQL instance. After this, your cleanup will be done. And congratulations, you have successfully completed this lab where you've learned how to build a travel agent using MCP Toolbox for databases and use the agent development kit again. To submit your screenshot, all you need to do is start a conversation with the agent and use the screenshot that is specified in the email. If you go to codevipassana.dev, you will be able to see the details of which exact screenshot you need to provide. So I will just show you that. Let's scroll down. We built this today, build a travel agent. In step 6, we have to submit the screenshot below the text, provide a few prompts inquiring about the cities. So the screenshot that you need to submit is this. All you need to do is ask the agent about a city, let the agent respond, submit this, and you'll be good to go for this lab. So that's great. Congratulations once again. If you have any doubts, please reach out to us. You can always connect with us at Discord, comment down in the YouTube video, and leave a thumbs up. See you in the next video.